was tempted this morning to kind of skip the devotional. I'm late for the seminar, and the title is Broken Promises. And it was so convicting that I've got to talk about this. We find ourselves in Genesis 38, and we're in a series that talks about Joseph. So from chapter 37 all the way to 50, it's about Joseph, but we have this interlude here that talks about Judah. It reminds you when we started in Genesis 12 talking about Abraham, and then we get to 19 and we talk about Lot, and then we pick back up. And so this is another one of those interludes. You're going to find in today's devotional, there's a lot of ties about things that are going on. So I want you to really pay attention to these ties. Okay, so Judah, what does he do? Well, he goes and he finds him a Canaanite wife. Haven't we read about this before? Yes, we've talked about this. They were not supposed to do this, and he goes and does this. You know this is not going to be good. So he finds and he marries Shurah. Now, they have 3 sons, and he goes out to find his 3 sons' wives. This is a tradition. And he finds Tamar, and she marries Erah. He passes away. So now, because Onan didn't have a wife, now he takes the place of Er, and they're going to supposedly have a child. But he doesn't like this idea. So he lets his seed spill on the ground. This angers the Lord. And now you've got Shelah. Now Shelah is much younger. And Judah says that when he gets older, that you can have him as your husband. But he doesn't really mean this. And you can read the scriptures and find out about this. In the meantime, Shurah passes away, and Tamar, she contrives this plan. She is going to trick him. So he goes to shear his sheep, and she dresses up like a harlot. He comes to her. She's enticing, but yet she's got her face veiled, and he has no money. Promises her a goat, and she says, "What tokens do you have?" And so she takes these tokens, staff and a cord and a seal, and they lie together. She gets pregnant. So you know this is not going to be a good thing. This deception, you can see this is really thematic. When you take a look at what's going on here in Genesis, is remember when Jacob, he wants to portray himself as Esau, so he goes in to fool his father, and he takes the skin of goats, and he puts this on his arms and the back of his neck because Esau is very hairy. And so he uses the skin of a goat as a deception. Interesting is, in Genesis 27:23, it says that he does not recognize Jacob. And so that word, recognize, is a word that we're going to see all the way through these deception stories. The next one is when we see that the 10 sons deceive Jacob regarding Joseph. And what do? They put the blood of once again, a goat on his coat of many colors. And then they asked Jacob to examine it. And now you see that exact same Hebrew word in Genesis 37:32. Now we see Tamar. In this deception here, what's promised? Yes, again, a goat. And you see that Judah does not recognize Tamar. That same Hebrew word is used. And so you're going to see there's just a lot of connections here. When you go and you take a look at the genealogy of Jesus, you're going to find that Tamar is there. This is a woman that dressed like a prostitute. You read on, you're going to see that Rahab is there, and she is a prostitute. There's Ruth in there, and she lays down like a prostitute. Then you see Bathsheba, a woman that was adulterous. And then you see Mary, a woman caught or what seemingly looked like she had an adulterous relationship. And so you see all of these connections. It's amazing. If you look at the Judah narrative and you look at the Lot narrative, those you're going to see some similarities. And we won't get into those for time's sake, but you're going to see some similarities even in that. You see a younger brother similarity. Seth instead of Cain, Isaac instead of Ishmael, Jacob instead of Esau, Perez instead of Zerah, Ephraim instead of Manasseh. And so you see this younger brother picture here that's the same, where we have an elder brother who has given his inheritance to the younger. And so you see these all along. One of the things that I think that is just absolutely amazing about this whole deal is that as crazy as Israel acts sometimes and the nutty things that they do, it never thwarts God's plan. And that is absolutely astounding. So in the light of Joseph just being this solid, steady rock, this amazing individual that in the midst of all this chaos, he can stay the course. He can see the vision that God has given him. You see this other going on with his brothers. Let us be Josephs. Let us be individuals that keep our own promises, but more importantly, know the promises of God and can see what God would have us to do. I encourage you to read this. Obviously, there's a lot to look at here. I can't get into it all, but really just plunge into the Word of God and really think about it. May God richly bless you. Thank you for listening. I know it was a long devotional. Thank you for listening today. God bless.